I was going to do a discussion, actually a few discussions today. Chopped up, of course, into different discussions. One that was going to be on how a lot of people, and I might do it too, I'm not 100% certain, but how a lot of people place limits on the reality that they will accept. Um, Dealing not only with physical stuff on this plane, but also with some spiritual stuff as well. Um, and so that was going to be one of the discussions. And the other discussion that we are going to have was on arguments. And basically, like the difference between getting your point across and arguing just for the sake of arguing. And so those were going to be the two that I was going to focus on today. But and I was going to record a couple hours ago, but something came up. So wanted, it's always good to take inspiration from events that are current. And this has nothing to do with anything that's in the news. I rarely watch the news because I don't believe that it's necessarily productive for our society. Uh, I think I think the increasing amount of violence that is shown on the news, plus the negativity matched with the size of how big TVs are getting these days, is leading us towards a level of untrust within humanity. So I don't, I have a decent sized TV that's currently dying at the moment, and I thank it every day. Well, I hope I do. If I don't, then I thank it the next day for at least existing and being in my presence for at least another day. The sensor's going on it, so it's a Samsung, and I guess this is a faulty or a fault in it where the sensor goes and dots appear, and it kind of looks like fruit flies in one way, and then it looks like stars in another, where these white little dots are there. So there's black dots and white dots, and then there's the actual pixels on the screen or whatever it is, however the TV operates. But the sensor is roughly $250, or it's between 150 and $250 to replace. You add on another $100 and you get yourself a decent brand new TV. So the sad thing is that I basically have to let this TV run out its life and send it along its way and get a new TV when it's done, or no TV. I don't know. It's nice to have something so that when I watch movies on and whatnot, I don't have cable, and I refuse to get cable, and so does my roommate, which is really nice because it's pretty much a waste of time. There's nothing really valuable there. Plus, if you really need something, you can just get it off the internet. And I say off the internet in quotation marks because um, depending on where your scruples lie, because of the monetary system, you are actually taking money away from people when it really should be given for free. Um, so anyways, that's why I don't watch the news, and so this has nothing to do with current events. It's just a current event that happened to me. And so on Monday, March 9th, 2015, after participating in my basketball league that I'm in, I took my dog for a walk, and it was a normal walk that we normally take, and we go through this park 90, well, I wouldn't say 90% of the time, but at least like 80% of our evening walk, we go through this park, and I let him off leash, and he runs around, and it's a really small park, and he has fun, and he enjoys it. But this time, so he does, we get there, and I'm walking down through the park. It's got this little walkway that, humans can walk, and dogs can play on the grass and whatnot. And I get to the end and I'm waiting for him, and as I leash him up, because he's now with me, I see this animal charging towards us. Charging, running, whatever. And so I immediately let go of the leash and do my best to get in the middle, because I personally know that my dog doesn't necessarily get along with too many dogs. He doesn't like dogs sniffing his privates and whatnot. And he's in training to get him out of that, because I really want him to learn how to get along with his own kind. He loves people. Doesn't necessarily care for other dogs. And so dog runs up. I don't get necessarily in the way in time, but he gets, because it's dark out and it's, his back's already up, and this dog charges at him, and so he snips at it, and this dog looks like a pit bull. And it's not. It's a small breed of Mastiff mixed with a few other things, but it's not a pit bull. At least that's what the owner says, and at some point just need to learn to trust people. So I'm going to trust her. And so Buddy snaps at it, it snaps back, and they start to fight. And this is like nothing that I've ever experienced before. I have saved my dog from a German Shepherd about twice his size once, or at least twice his weight. A pit bull that was smaller than him but probably weighed more. A collie that just didn't like him. And a Saint Bernard. All four of those instances, probably combined, do not compare to how scared I was. And how scared my dog was that night. This dog could have killed him. And I got in the way and I separated them both. And after the 95-pound dog was in my left hand, it was kind of pulling me a little bit. And so I had to let go of Bud, and Bud thought I was in danger. Bud's my dog. And he went back after the dog, and the dog went back after him. And finally, I separated them both and started yelling for help, and the owners came up. I talked about this in my blog post on my site, ruggedDiAMOND. So you can go and read that just so I don't have to rehash the same stuff. But let's just say that trauma has caused Bud to, psychologically, to relapse into the old dog that he used to be, at least getting closer where he doesn't trust other dogs and whatnot. And unfortunately, it's also led me to not necessarily to have my backup with him, which isn't fair to my dog. And in the blog post, I explained that this dog had been kidnapped from the owner. In a sense, kidnapped. What happened, and this just goes to show you how inept most police officers are. And you know what? Yes, just like there's some good people in this world, there are some good police officers. Don't get me wrong. But the thing is, if a push came to shove, I think those good police officers would not place any human being on this planet. They would quit their job before they would harm another human being. Those are the good police officers. There are, though, shitty police officers out there who, when a woman has a seizure and two guys walk by and say, oh yeah, we know so-and-so will take the dog, instead of doing background checks, instead of doing anything, they just hand the dog over to the two strangers. This woman is unconscious. And if she's anything like me, loves the shit out of her dog. But doesn't know, in all honesty, she probably doesn't know that she's unconscious. She's had a seizure. And these two asshole cops gives the dog to these strangers. Turns out, these strangers run a dog fighting pit, or ring, or whatever. And I don't exactly remember, I was still in shock at the time, so I don't exactly remember. Don't exactly remember the time frame that the owner told me, But it was between 4 and 8 months that this dog was missing. Let that sink in for a second. Imagine you love something so much, and something happens to you that the next moment that you are awake, that thing isn't with you anymore. This alive thing who loves you back isn't with you. Be it a dog, a cat, a child. Doesn't matter. Imagine that is now gone and you have no fucking clue whatsoever where it is. It's pretty fucking scary. I'd say it's pretty traumatizing for that person, don't you think? So she looks for it, and thankfully she has it chipped. So eventually she finds it, hires some people to help get it back. But in the meantime, the dog has been groomed to be a fight dog. And I didn't know that. I had no fucking clue. Until the owner told me after the fight. And just on a side note, I just want to say this. Yes, there are some very amazing people in this world. But there's not enough. There's not enough to counterbalance the amount of shitty people on this planet. Not enough. There's too many shitty people. And yeah, fuck it. Who cares? That's a judgment. But it's also truth. There's a lot of truth in what I said there. Hands down. And the thing is that it's not just like rescue dogs, it's not their fault for being the way they are. It's also not the human's fault for being the way they are. There's so many factors that come into play. And the thing is that we're so fucked up in our society that we don't look into it. We choose to only look at what we see. But the thing is that you can't see into someone's brain. You can't see into their thoughts. You don't know what the fuck they're thinking. Unless you go a different route. Unless you, and not just like going to see a psychiatrist or psychology or anything like that. There's a different route we can take. A more spiritual route. And yes, I know that sounds fucking hokey. I don't care. And yes, I'm swearing a lot on this. I don't care. Actually, I don't care anymore about my vocabulary, and what I'm saying, how much I swear. If you think that it makes me sound like a lesser of a person or whatever, I don't care. Because my point's going to get across. One way or another. Eventually my point will get across. And I'm pissed off because this is stuff that I'm passionate about. I love my dog. I love other people's dogs. I actually genuinely deep down when it comes to it, even though I don't show the emotion for it, and it's really hard to show the emotion for it, I actually love people. Yes, I think they're stubborn. Yes, I don't think they listen enough. Yes, I don't think they open themselves up to more than what they can just see. And I wish they did. Because we could live in such an amazing world if they did. But nonetheless, two guys completely rewired one dog that almost ended the life of mine. That's scary shit, man. Scary for him, my boy, and scary for me. And I didn't realize just how utterly scary it was for me until today. When my dog was at a schoolyard, and I was going to go throw the ball around for him, and he met up with another dog that he knew, and he was standoffish with this dog, but it still allowed it to exist in his general area. And they, sniffed back and forth, and Buddy, I kept, interrupting Buddy to tell him that it's okay, that he needs to allow this dog to sniff so he can get over his fear. And all of a sudden, a Rottweiler shows up. And Buddy's hair stands up, and I really should have gotten him out of the situation, but I wanted to see where he was at. Because in order to understand where your dog's at, you have to test things sometimes. And so I let them sniff, and he'd met this Rottweiler before. And so they sniffed, and the Rottweiler sniffed him, and Buddy had his back up, but it was okay. And then Buddy sniffed the Rottweiler, and everything was okay. But this third dog that Buddy was playing with before came in and pincered him, and Buddy got scared, snapped at the Rottweiler, and they started to fight. I got in between, separated them and whatnot, but it's still so goddamn scary. Scary anytime people fight. I don't care. Any type of fight, any really type of violence, except for, I guess, in movies and whatnot. It's fucking scary. To see something live like that, it's terrifying. And then to be a part of it, just as scary. And it started bringing back all of these things, and I'm so... I became so worried about my dog because I've had him in training for 3 months, and his confidence had gone up so much from like a -10 to a +5 in 3 months. That's great progress. He was like, and the trainer even said that he's 2 or 3 months ahead of schedule of where he's supposed to be. Like that's testament to how hard he works at his training, how much he wants to prove his love to me, and just how smart he is. And this fight had regressed both of us back to the beginning of training, where I was unsure of him, and he was unsure of himself. And so I went to go see the trainer, his trainer, because she told me to go see her so that we could at least start taking care of the trauma now. And I'd yet to really talk about my side of it. We talked about Buddy and whatnot, and what we could do and how we could build him up, but we never focused on how it affected me. And I never really realized that it had affected me. Growing up, nothing against my mom. She understood, or dad. They understood how to provide for us. And one way that they provided for us is every time that they found an opportunity to move into a house that was better for us, we moved. But that has some psychological tolls on a human being. And and I'll get to that soon, or back to that. It takes a toll on the psyche of a person. Imagine from grade 1 to, let's say, grade 5, you were in a different high school every year. Not high school, sorry, elementary school every year. And then from 5 to 7, you're in the same school. Grade 8 to 10, you're in the same school. And then grade 9, or grade 11 and 12. 11 and 12, you're in another high school. So I went to I think 7 different high schools in the span of 12 years. But in that span, we'd moved at least 8 or 9 times. I had to make friends several times over. And at some point, because we moved so much, I stopped wanting to get to know my neighbors. Stopped caring about other people. Because what's the point of caring about other people if you're just going to move away anyways? And it has followed me to this day, where I don't actually like to say goodbye to people. I refuse. If I meet people on a trip, I won't see them the last day when they're leaving because it's too hard for me. Yeah, I have some psychological damage within me, and it hurts too much to deal with that I don't go for it. So I understand that there's something that I have to work on. And the thing is that today I couldn't hold it in anymore. And I broke down in front of the trainer. And she lets me. She is all for it because it helps. And I looked at her, and my dog's in the room, so I don't really want to say this in front of him because I love him and he doesn't need to hear it. But let's just say that my self-confidence in the whole situation was completely rocked. And I couldn't focus any. Like, I broke down. I started to cry. And although the release felt really, really super good, I felt ashamed. And I wanted to hold it in because that's what we teach our world. That's what we teach our society. That it's okay. That it's absolutely, fundamentally okay to put a bullet in the brain of somebody. Show it on TV. It doesn't really fucking matter. You know, train them in the military to do that. But it's not okay to release energy. It's not okay to release your trauma. You have to vibrate at such a low frequency. That's what they want. Whoever's in charge, who's ever running this planet, wants you to vibrate at a low fucking frequency and stay there. And I felt ashamed. And I'm sure a lot of people, when they get into those situations, feel ashamed. Feel stupid. For what? For being scared? For being fearful of shit? For being lost? That's terrible. It's terrible how far we've allowed our caring to get. Not only about ourselves, or not only about other people, but also about ourselves. We need to start caring again, people. We need to start allowing it to be okay to genuinely release our energy, and not through TV shows that sell shit, like X Factor or American Idol or any actual reality TV show out there that sells pain for profit. Because all that's doing is saying, hey, you want to, it encourages people to go on TV and sell their weakness. Well, not weakness, but sell their pain for profit. But it tells other people, it desensitizes us to actually want to do that. Just like it desensitizes us to violence. It's okay to, like I said, show people getting executed for not. Case in point, here's case in point for TV. I watched a show called The 100. I get really high doing it too. And I get a lot of, because there's a lot of cryptic information in that show, if you're willing to put up with it. Now, a lot of people that I've talked to say, oh, it's just a silly show and whatnot. There's a lot there. And if you ever want to talk to me about it, I will actually, and actually have a genuine conversation about it, I will tell you what I think about it. But the thing is that I was watching it, I think, either last week or the week before. And there was a moment on the show where one of the guards in this compound was asking for these prisoners, who shouldn't be prisoners in the first place. And I know this isn't going to make sense to a lot of people, but they were helping what are called the sky people gain sanctuary, at least, or hide them, so that they didn't get their bone marrow ripped out of their skin or extracted out of them, so that these people in what's called the mountain to be able to reach the surface. In order for these people in the mountain to survive, they can't get hit by radioactive. It's too long to explain, so I'm not going to. But anyways, These people were, in a sense, according to the law in the mountain, were harboring fugitives. Of course, these people were innocent and should never have been there and were held captive and whatnot so that they could extract the marrow. But these people kept denying that they were helping out. And eventually, the guards drew guns on these people and said, you either tell us or we'll shoot you. And so the good-hearted sky people who were in the room with, like, hiding in a vent or something like that, but were in the room with these other people, came out and said, don't do that. And so they took the sky people with them, but on national television at 9 o'clock at night, that's when the show airs, they showed two people who disobeyed the governmental law. They showed that they got shot in the head. What does that tell you about whoever is running this shit? What does that tell you that they're trying to teach us, especially the youth, that that's okay? But the thing is that at 9 o'clock at night, it's okay to show two people getting executed, bullets to the head, but it's not okay to show female bare breasts, buttocks, or frontal genital areas. That is off limits. But the execution of someone to show them losing their lives, the most precious thing on this planet, that's okay. Because it's useless. And especially because those assholes were harboring fugitives. They were the bad guys. Because what they were trying to do was allow other people to live. We are being groomed in this society to not share our emotions with one another. Like, and I'm not talking about, oh, I had a bad day. I'm talking about this fucking hurts, and I need to get it out. And I need someone just who's willing to be there to genuinely listen to me because it is a concern for me. Instead of someone saying, oh, stop being a victim and get back out there. Because that doesn't help. All that does is tell people, oh, no one's there to help me, so I gotta look out for myself. It is building individuals. Or instead, we need to be coming closer and closer as a community, as a whole. And one of the ways that we can do that is to start actually listening to other people. To not judge them because we think, because we've been trained to think. It's not even that we fucking think this. It's because we've been trained to think that these people are weak. Right. It is not weak to be vulnerable. It is not weak to show your emotions. It is not weak to be scared. What is weak is to hold it in and to let it destroy your body and let that energy, because it needs to get out, stay within you. Because it's going to come out one way or another. You're either going to harbor resentment or you're going to release it and not feel shitty. And I know this has gone in several different directions, so try and wrap it up in, or just, wrap it up with some succinctness. We need to grow up. We need to stop acting like young souls, teenagers, and start acting like mature souls, like adults, well-adjusted people who can look at one another and go, "You're in pain. Talk to me because I will listen and I will help you release that energy." And the more people that we can rehabilitate that way, those people then can go out and help other people release their energy and release their energy and release their energy and release their energy until eventually everybody has been rehabilitated. If you can rehabilitate a dog from being groomed to be a dog fighting, like a dog fighter, and be in a fighting pit and want to kill another dog. If you can rehabilitate a dog from doing that to loving its other kinds in its species, because we're animals too, who's to say we can't do the same? And the thing is that we're all getting groomed to kill each other. We're all getting groomed to turn our backs on one another. It's coming through fear. And part of that problem is money, and the other part is control, which stems from money. But it's time we start caring for one another. Or else, at some point, when we're actually ready to care for one another, there probably won't be anyone left. Not enough, at least. We will lose an opportunity to thrive on a planet with 7 billion people. And yes, we can. We can actually live on this planet with 7 billion people and actually do well. We could probably live on it with more. But we gotta change the way that we operate. And one of the steps is to learn how to deal with trauma. I remember listening to a talk, I think it was on YouTube. It was the author of a book called Repeatlessness. And I believe the guy is Dr. Joe Marsala or something like that. And he said that human beings, of every 5 or 10 thoughts that we have, out of 5, 4 of them are negative, which means that out of 10, 8 of them are negative. 80%. That's a 4-to-1 ratio of negative thoughts to positive thoughts. And that's in our heads. That's how we think. And, there's although it's pseudoscience to a lot of people, water is affected by our thoughts. Whether we want to believe it or not. At some point we will actually prove that and it'll become possibly law. But until it is, let's just consider that to be true. That water can affect our thoughts. Now, if 4-to-1 of our thoughts is negative, and it distorts our body so bad, doesn't that show how, that shows up in our world? And the thing is that he says in that talk that a 4-to-1 ratio of negative thoughts to positive is PTSD. Yes, we haven't fought no war and whatnot, but we don't have to, because we're almost all of us on this planet are under duress of some sort of PTSD. PTSD isn't just for war and war veterans. It stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. Post meaning after a traumatic event, you will have stress and it becomes a disorder. Where in any of that, does it say this only applies to those that fight in the military or in the police force? It doesn't. Yet, so many people will say, oh no, you're just being weak. But you're not. It takes strength to be vulnerable. It takes strength to show it and genuinely show it. Don't just show it for profit. So it's time for us, all of us, to embrace the word PTSD as our own. And not just allow it to be for the military or for the police or anyone that deals in those situations. Take it in. Understand that you start with trauma. Think about this. You get, the birthing process is trauma. And we never get rehabilitation after that. You go from being in a warm, safe, comfortable place to being birthed out into this world. Right? To be birthed into this world. That's got to be fucking scary for the spirit. But regardless of that, it is time. It is absolute 100% time that we start realizing that we're all of us, are under some sort of trauma. And then we start caring about not only ourselves and allowing ourselves to release it, but allowing other people when they are too afraid to release it, to be there for them when they're ready and let them do it. Because eventually this trauma is going to lead to all of our deaths if we don't do something about it now. Because we can't continue to live in fear. We can't continue to allow people that are in control to control us this way. We need to take our sovereignty back to be free people. And one of those steps is to care genuinely about the person next to you. So let's start doing that. Let's release our trauma and help other people release theirs. And, as always, I'm here for people if they ever want to have that opportunity. I want to help you become trauma-free. I don't have a degree in anything. I'm not a psychologist, so if you need a paper, if you need that kind of reassurance, that help can be had, I'm not your guy. But if you actually genuinely want to release your trauma, talk to me. I will help you out. Or at least I will attempt, or I'll push you in the right direction. That's pretty much it. I'm tired. I need to eat. I wish you all the best. I want to thank you for listening and putting up with what I have to say and putting up with my swearing. I get pretty heated and passionate. And if you want to contact me, my Twitter info and website are just above. You can look at it. Yeah. And if you want to message me something longer than 140 characters, just go to my website, type in the message on my contact page, and let's get talking and let's start helping people. Okay? Have a great night. Or day. Or evening. Afternoon. Whatever time you listen to this. I wish you all the best. Goodbye.